That is the mindset that almost everybody in India shares. We make it to the Holy Trinity, we land a perfect job. How do you
Yeah.
counter that? Like, what are the factors that counter that? And one sec. What is the lowest package offered to a student at IMB? If you can talk about that.
I can't talk about the exact number to be honest, because I don't know if I am allowed to do that, but it should be around between around 20 lakhs, more than 20, between 20 and
Okay.
25, but closer to 20. I think that should be the minimum this year. Last year it was around 25. This year it should be around 20.
20 is a threshold. And about that part, that is a myth, right? That is a myth that will be debunked once one reaches the campus.
Which myth that you will
The
get?
myth that come what may, I got into the Holy Trinity, everything is set.
Yeah, I think that's always there, right? But you also know that eh, you won't. Everyone does not get that 50 lakh ka package, right? Or everyone does not get into best companies. There are variety. So you know your level, and once I think you start studying, then you understand it more, right? That where do you stand. So starting with there it is. There is a myth, but I think eventually after 6 months you'll realize that where do you stand, and you know how you're competing with other people. And if you feel that either you can upskill and then try to compete with them and try to get good companies, or then you can just see, yeah, this is my level and this is what type of company I'll get and try to go there. I think it's fair also, but obviously, see, there is an advantage also, right? If you have reached IIM Bangalore Holy Trinity, you won't go to a very bad company, right? But moderately, it will be still good, right? Because of the placement that you will get. The worst of worst also can happen. You'll still end up at a much better place compared to any other preschool. So I think that an advantage, the safety net you have, but obviously, you can't take everything for granted if you're like super ambitious.
So, guys, the myth does hold true, but you have to have a reality check in place as well. And talking of actual CTC to cash component, Jay, we've had a lot of rumors around that the numbers are very inflated when it comes to all the top IIMs. So, what do you think about the CTC to actual cash component ratios across domains? Can you give a little overview about that?
I yeah, I think see that is there, right? It probably varies from, as you mentioned, like domain to domain, right? So consulting, if you see, like around 20% is the variable bonus type, right? Uh, but you'll get it every year. So I won't say it's not part of your CTC. But then you have joining bonus, right? That is like 10-20% that you won't get it. Then there is relocation bonus and all. I think that type of, it's inflated by 20-30%, but not more than that. So मतलब if you are saying कि हाँ, like 40 lakh salary है तो 30 lakh तो base होगा ही, like that you'll get, so don't
30
have to
lakhs is the
worry.
minimum cash component across all the domains. Like, that's the
Yeah,
ratio,
yeah.
75%.
Yeah, around 75% you should get. Mostly startups meet is ESOPs. So startup I would still consider ki, हाँ, it can be more than that, but around 20-25% it's there, but not like more than that. It can mostly it's less than that only, but it cannot be more than that. Major part यार it goes away in tax. 30% tax देना पड़ता है ना वहाँ पे थोड़ा, it breaks you down. That
Absolutely.
eventually that means that 40 like 4 months of your 4 months of the year you're just working for free and you're working for the
Exactly.
government,
Exactly.
and that I have a very strong opinion against it because the business people they don't pay any salary, right? That's the tax here. The MBAs who pay after like slogging for 16 hours, you are still paying that 30% tax. It's fair, but then how it's a different topic altogether. That how the funds are getting utilized and why other people are not paying that much, right? So I think that is important, and I think that takes a lot of in-hand cash, not the variable component.
We can discuss on the progressive tax system later on as well. But talking of domain wise, which is the domain that offers the maximum cash component ratio? Like, if you could.
Um, cannot have a direct answer to be honest. Yeah, matlab cash component should include variable bonus as well, right? Because you'll get it at the end of the year.
Yeah.
मिलेगा late मिलेगा. It's not कि monthly आएगा, right? So I think like any company, right? Fin, consult, marketing, or even any of them would have around 80-90% of the cash component only. Apart from startup, startup में ESOP होगा, and even Prodman. Startup and Prodman, I think they are
Oh,
less, where you'll have this ESOP and
a lot of
component.
ESOPs.
Yeah, and ESOP component is more, and then also, but if you come to finance and consulting, the variable pay is more. It's performance based. So that can be counted. But as you mentioned, right, matlab, this travel and all that we have, right, consulting with it is added 5-6 lakh. That is never counted in CTC. It's never counted. It's mostly over and above. If you have project there, if you're staying in hotel payment, hotel stays how much? 5,000 a day. And if you're staying like how many, even 20 days, right? It's like
1
1
lakh.
lakh rupees. Yeah, so like 10 lakh to तुमने extra add कर लिया ऐसे if you're staying. So, matlab, that is not counted, right? One of my friends who is 3 years elder, he's working at BCG, staying in St. Regis for like 3 years. मतलब 3 साल से वो 5 स्टार में है. So कंपनी ने 25-30 लाख तो उसमें ही डाल दिया है. So it's there, right? That is never counted actually in cities. So
Yeah.
you have added advantage. So you should look at both the sides. So if they are quoting this is a CTC, yeah, mostly it will go above that for that company.
Oh, oh. Mostly for consulting though. It'll go above that threshold.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, correct.
Makes
Consulting or
sense.
even Fin, right? But apart from that, I think overall, still it is not that much. I think market में है ज़्यादा कि it's fake and इतना CTC नहीं देंगे. But joining bonus is there. For some companies it is there कि हाँ बहुत ज़्यादा दे देते हैं. I would not name it, but then there is one company who has a CTC of 40, but 10 lakh is the joining bonus. So when you join, you get 10 lakh, but then that won't get added next year, na.
Exactly.
So there
Exactly.
are some company who does that, but yeah, 80-90% of them is 80-90% of it is still a cash component for most of the companies.
Wow. Wow. Makes sense. Makes sense. And talking about the more controversial aspects, I guess the placements at your campus are student driven, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
No,
So
no, no, not student driven, but there is a CDS that is always there. So
a third party
uh,
agency. What's a
no.
CDS?
It's a career development service cell
Cell.
that is like that is a institute driven. So student help it, but then there is always a committee that is looking over it that something wrong does not happen. Because if you see other colleges, you'll see like a lot of Instagram post coming ki all the good companies are taken by the placement cell. That will never happen here. So I think
Wow.
that transparency is always there. And I've personally seen that. I initially thought that it won't be that transparent, but seeing it for last 2 years, it's like super transparent. There is no biasness at all, right? I've seen placement people even working like they are ass off for 2 years, still not getting good companies. So and uh, so that's there, right? Because they're helping you out. It's a good PR to have it, but then there is no biasness. At least at IIM Bangalore. In other colleges, yes, there is some biasness that is there. Here, it's not.
So CDSC is exclusively run by the professors and all the people involved. Like there are personals involved in the institutes for POV.
Institutes and also third party, some of them for
Third party as well.
for verification and all.
So that's a very good aspect that they're having all of these things run honestly. I mean, that's something that we need to applaud.